done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? And if there's no answer, the only thing we owe them.
Good evening, family. Good evening, family. Yes. Pattalk57. Yes. Chef C, I see you. I see you, bro. We got it. Myself, Chef C, Juan J. Johnson, Pattalk57. Brother Negro, get up in here, man. I see you in the chat. Get up in here and stop playing. Wow. Chef C, Brother Juan J. Johnson.
We in the house.
It's been 10 days that the United States of America has sworn in its new president. And when I mean someone has shook the table, someone has shook the table. I never seen nothing like this. He's got people upside down to crash out his will. And the question, and what would probably be the main course of our show will be, why the crash out? What's the crash out really for? Are Black Americans still holding other people's water? We're crashing out for them that don't have nothing to do with them, fighting someone else's battles. As well as Chef C used to always, when Chef C would host the show, right, you guys, I'm gonna I'm gonna do the show some justice tonight, and we're gonna do exactly what Chef C used to do. We're gonna, as Chef C would say, we're gonna talk about some nigga shit first. We're gonna talk about some black stuff first, some B1 stuff first, some FBA stuff first. I'm gonna read this article. I'm gonna read the article, and we're gonna talk about our sister, Mayor of Dolton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard. And I'm going to read the article first before we even get into what she's going viral for this week. Here we go. Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard mismanaged village finances through excessive spending. Lori Lightfoot, who used to be the former mayor of Chicago, finds. Lightfoot told a packed meeting of Dolton residents that Henyard and her administration spent more than $171,000 on travel between 2021 and 2024, and that village credit cards were charged more than $48,000 for Amazon purchases. Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard mismanaged the South Suburban Village finances through excessive spending, hid financial information from trustees and the public, and skirted efforts aimed at transparency, according to the findings of an investigation into the embattled mayor. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, a consultant with Charles River Associates, presented the results of her non-criminal investigation into allegations of financial mismanagement by Henyard and others to village residents at a packed meeting Monday evening at the Lester Long Field House. Hold on, you guys. Get to the rest of this article. Oh, they don't even want to show me the rest of it. Well, we'll just go right from there. Hold up. Chef C, what's going on, bro? You want your mic? Your mic on mute.
You know what, brother Q. Salute to Tiffany. Salute to Tiffany, man. Always running plays. Sister girl down bad. And she been running the jokes on that city for a long time, robbing them blind. So you know what I like what's slowly starting to happen for her. I like this for her.
Did she say? Did she say you better get yours because I'm getting mine?
Well, I mean, listen. This is the definition of abuse of power, and however, chickens come home to roost. Every bootlick has their day. Okay, and at this stage of the game, her sister girl pass is starting to run out. Now you're running into a republic administration now, and also you're running into a bunch of people who don't even care about the black faces in high places anymore. They want deliverables, and she hasn't delivered for that city, for that town. So she gonna get hers, all right, and it ain't gonna be in the way that she thinks.
Brother Negro, before I go to Juan J. Johnson, before I go to the Reverend one, Brother Negro, you got something to say about all this?
Look out for that chair. But on a much more serious note, I actually been to Dolton. It's a very, very small community, and one thing I know that it's like who's who. They have a small population, and everybody kind of knows everybody, and that could be kind of dangerous in some communities because we have a tendency to let it slide because it's based on proximity versus living in a bigger city where it might be a little bit of different terrain. So I could see why this type of level of I would consider corruption would happen, and people act in that manner, as a result.
Brother Juan J. Johnson.
The era of pretty faces in high places is over. You're right. We need deliverables, and all this. Yes, voting for folks who sound like the part, look like the part, but can't produce is over. I followed some of that Detroit piece of the young lady, and I saw that little she throwing those hands and on another official.
I got that. That's coming. That's coming.
So coming. I think it's over. I think that look, we have to come to that place where we have to be done with pretty places and high spaces and doing nothing for us, but making us look bad. And then we got to own this hit because she's not in the vacuum by herself, meaning her actions is a reflection of the community. That's why I'm saying we taking the L's with folks who we keep putting back in office, who ain't doing nothing. Tiffany is out of order. Tiffany out of control. And actually, Tiffany is being who she's always been. She's who she is. But
I find it interesting because most of us, like you said, she popped on everybody's radar probably the last 2 years, and it's been scandal after scandal, a bunch of drama after drama, and it continues to go on, and like somebody said in the chat, like, why is this stuff allowed? Why do we get caught up with thinking that some of us think we have this premise we can do like other people? You can't do like other people. And stop trying to be like other people. Be who you are, be yourself. And it's like you making it bad for yourself, number one, and then like you're just deceiving people. You got a small town, like Brother Negro said. It's small towns like this where everybody know everybody. So when you have an extravagant lifestyle and you mismanage your funds, they know what you're working with. They know all your skeletons.
Yeah, but I think they miscalculate because that may be a small town. We got social media, and small town folks You know, the lure of going viral, letting people know who I am. I mean, she called herself a boss mayor. I'm the boss mayor. She wanted everybody to know that I'm the boss mayor. Okay, so what does that mean? Are we seeing what boss mayors look like? Narcissistic. I run things. This is my house. I'm not accountable to nobody. And now you're seeing the boomerang effect. You know, people couldn't. I mean, when you misappropriating funds and you squandering the money for the services, what do you think is going to happen eventually?
See, the house Negro was always like that. But the field Negro, he understood. House Negroes say, Massa, we house is in trouble. Field niggas say, let it go down. They not interested.
So what is it? Is it, as Chef C always reminds us, do some of our people believe that white ice is colder and they want their closeness, their attachments, their access to whiteness? And
it's white leadership that's colder, brother. It's white leadership. See, this is the nonsense that I deal with on the damn app every single day. I tell them we need to build our own government and stuff of that nature. I get pushback from that because now we'll be in the driver's seat completely. Some of us don't want to take those keys, man, and just drive. I just got to give it to you straight. They just don't want to take the keys and drive. And they think that other people in the community is going to build their opportunities. And we should, but that's not really the reality of most of where we at, from what I've been observing. So, yeah, I think that they think that some of us think that white leadership is colder. Hell, they voted for Trump. Some of these brothers and sisters, they didn't vote for they didn't sit on the couch, or they didn't vote for Brother Dion D. Jenkins and other people who are fighting for reparations. I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. So it's telling you that we don't even respect our own black leadership. That shows a problem right there. I'm sorry to go so hard on this, but and going hard about this,
Brother Roland, you bring a valid point, because I don't want to take the conversation too far left, but you have those of us that feel as though we don't need a leader. The code is our leader.
Yeah, that's the problem. The thing is, leadership is built by institutions.
Y'all see that look Chef C gave me?
But people will get mad at me, say that we don't need no organization.
Y'all see that look Chef C gave me? Chef C gave me the look like, listen, wherever you go, the animals, the planets, everything has a leader. But we say we don't need a leader. The code is going to be our leader. Go ahead, Chef C.
Listen. People hide behind that saying to avoid accountability, collective accountability. This is what I've seen. This is, listen, I would love for whatever this quote unquote code to be whatever form of leadership. But that book was written before I was born. Okay? What stopped whoever else, full-grown adults during that time, from following and buying into this very quote-unquote code, being the leadership? So why now, in my later years of a millennial, buy into this quote-unquote code being leadership, where it has been void of any form of accountability even before I was even thought of? It's a lie. Listen. And let's stop playing with this, Q. Hold on, Q. Hold on. I'm not gonna do this shit no more, man. The code is not the leader.
not gonna be together. This ain't no damn unity party with punks. This ain't no unity party with people who don't want the true liberation of black people. This ain't no unity party with betrayers and snitches.
Listen, Q. Q, you lined me up. Q, you knew I was gonna. Hey, Q, you lined me up. You knew I was gonna do some. You knew when you said that to me, you was gonna lie. You lined me up before the broadcast even went live. But here's the truth of the matter: if the code was the leader, Black America would not be in the position that it is today. We don't even have the luxury of even being called or looked at as second-class citizens in today. Even with all these immigrants here. We don't even qualify for second class. We don't even qualify. So what happened to the code? At least if there was a code, we could stay maybe in third or second class. We bottom class. So is that the code? Is the code to continue to drop class by class, generation upon generation? Is that the code?
As my close friend says, who is a Wazi sister, don't be mad at me if the men don't want to let their nuts hang.
Yeah.
We got sisters saying this about us.
Listen, if I had my joint, my Farrakhan scared to death Negroes. There've been a lot of Negroes with their penises tucked between their legs for decades, and that's part of the big problem here. There's not enough unapologetic but quick to tell you that I'm grown. Respect your elders. Stay in a young kid's place. But we got a lot of adults moving around like little scared little boys and girls. Scared little boys and girls who are telling other adults to stay in their place. Listen, let me say. I'm gonna say this. When somebody says to me, "I've been in this movement for 30 plus years," I gotta look at you crazy. There's no progress. That's not a hill you want to die on. That's not something where you want to beat your chest. You telling me you've been fucking up for 30 years. You ain't get it. You haven't gotten it. When somebody says to me they were born in the quote unquote movement and they 40 or approaching 40, 50, 60, you were born in the movement. You haven't gotten it right for a minimum 4 decades is what you're telling me. Even 3 decades, you haven't gotten it right. And the people around you within the quote-unquote movement haven't figured it out. So when the quote-unquote code being the leader, the quote-unquote code is the leader of failure, redundancy, doing the same thing and expecting grifting, expecting a different result by doing old tactics. The only thing that becomes new is the trends that we consume as far as media and things like that. But Black America, what we're looking at, unfortunately, is same talking points. I listen to some of Malcolm X's old clips. Believe it or not, I had the nerve to even listen to Hitler. And guess what? Martin, Malcolm, Hitler, they have some similarities as far as the way they deemed necessary to advocate for their people. But guess what? Hitler had to get put out of the pocket because he was sending people to gas chambers. He was cooking folks up. Black America, we decided to boycott a couple buses and say some "we shall overcomes." So now We got the remnants. Shout out to Al Sharpton. Shout out to fucking Reverend Jesse Jackson. The remnants of turncoats who still get to look us in the face today. Today. The brother we played our last broadcast said, Jesse Jackson took the blood of Martin Luther King and rubbed it on his fucking shirt. And nobody did nothing. Jesse still toted it around. Al Sharpton came on several different platforms talking about he was an FBI agent. Right? He hide with his chest out. Yeah, I was an informant. And guess what? Now you see Al Sharpton walking around talking about boycotting Costco. No,
And
buying into Costco.
And he's respected in the community still.
Still. Is that the leader that's cold that we're hearing about? Is that it? I'm just, listen. This thing, I don't advocate for violence, but let me tell you something. A lot of people have heard all of our outrage. And the same way we look at Latinos or illegal immigrants getting deported is the way they look at us when we talk about all the things that have happened to us in this country.
What do you have to lose?
When we hear about folks getting picked up, right? ICE getting called on them. Oh yeah, we sending them back home. You think that energy's has never been reciprocated? It's always been here. When they look at the things that have happened to us, you hear about a brother getting shot unarmed, a sister getting shot unarmed by the police. You think they sharing those same tears that we have? The same anger that we have when these things happen to us? No. I can guarantee you it's on the flip side. And I can tell you, I can almost say that it is upon that energy with which we have for the illegal immigrants getting deported. We have to be realistic about what's going on with these codes. This quote unquote code is the leader. It ain't no code. What you will have, you are better off finding a bunch of folks, a handful, because it ain't gonna be a bunch of that. Remember, a lot of folks wasn't even on Martin Luther King or Malcolm X's time. Right? It was a handful of folks. It wasn't a bunch of folks. It was a handful. You're better off finding people who think like you, like-minded individuals that you can do some shit together with. They play their part, you play your part. Y'all come together, y'all make some shit shake. You can't save everybody. You're not going to be able to do it. The code ain't been a leader. The code is look out for you yourself. I got mine, you get yours. That is the code.
Black men died in North Africa fighting the Germans. Black men died at Anzio Beach, at Palermo, at Naples, to free Rome, to free Paris, to free Europe. Damn it! We died to build America. And America has rebuilt Germany and Japan. And the nigger is still suffering and dying in the streets of America.
Talk that.
Hey, can I comment on something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think we may not need leaders. I really think that we might need examples of what we really want to see in the community versus actually having full-fledged out leaders. And that was something that I started like exploring and looking into, because I want to see good examples of good stewardship, how we treat each other as brothers, and other things of that example. So that's what I hope I ain't moving too left.
I'm not going to dispute with anybody before Brother Juan J. Johnson get a chance to speak. But like I said, when you watch the fish, when you look at the birds, when you look at any animal creature, when you look at anything, everything has a leader. Everything has a leader.
Make it simple, Q. Simple. There's leadership. The animal kingdom has lead. They call him the king of the freaking jungle. The lion. King. But when you come to deal with niggas, oh, God, it can't be no leadership. No, because what happens when you see what happened when they put them in leadership, they deleted this person, they deleted that person, blah, blah, blah. Scared Negroes.
Sometimes it's not a matter of whether you're willing to die for the liberation of your people. Some of us aren't willing to live for the liberation of our people. Brother Juan J. Johnson.
So let me say this. This is a shameless plug, but I'm going to put it out there. Shameless plug. The American Slave Code in Practice and in Theory by Jeffrey Goodell. It should be required reading. The American Slave Code in Theory and in Practice. I read this book. Should be required reading, right? It talked about how all of white society was on code. Not just lawfully, but instinctively. Okay? Everybody was on code, and there were leaders within the code. Okay? Now, I keep hearing to talk about the code is the leader. The code can't really be the leader if we're not all familiar with the code.
Too nice, too long. Yep, it's definitely time I get nasty.
White folks was on code with the slave codes from Maine to California, Georgia, Texas, Florida, Montana, wherever white folks were, they were on code with slavery.
So they was calling each other on the phone back then?
No.
Writing telegrams?
Postcards, telegraphs, and just instinctively, they knew the value of their skin. They knew about white genetic survival. They knew about white male dominant culture. Okay? And black folks was on code too. Yeah, you want to talk about the code? They was instinctively on code with what? Being in your place. Get out of place, nigga, Negro, colored, coon, and we're going to either kill you, whip you, isolate you. Black folks was on code from Maine to California. Okay? Let's keep it 100. Think about it. Okay? So we talk about being on code.
So I'm glad we talking about this, and we're gonna leave this portion of what we're saying, not to go too far away from it, but we still got some stuff about our sister Tiffany. And I say our sister Tiffany because sometimes the lack of accountability for our stuff is the progress stopper.
Well, so before you go to Tiffany,
go ahead.
The last election showed that we're not on code. When you had 80% of black men, 90% of black females voting against their own interests.
It's 92%. The 92 they sitting out for 4 years.
So that
this is a sick Negro.
So that would say with clarity that we're not on code. Number two, why we're not on code. 80% to 90% of black America took the shot against their own interests, against their own health. So maybe the code is destruction. Maybe the code is destruction. Maybe the code is death. Maybe that's the code we're on. Because I'm not subscribing to that code. I didn't take the shot. And I said my chest out. I didn't take the shot. At the expense of losing family and friends. And I didn't vote for Kamala at the expense of losing family and friends. So I may not be on code.
Yeah, you off code, Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So brother Juan J. Johnson. So our sister Tiffany, who's the mayor of Dolton, small little city, right? She also sits on the board of Thornton. I don't know what she sits on that board doing. So this week they had a board meeting, community meeting. So it was a brother who's an activist. He was shooting his spill about her and her improprieties.
Mm-hmm.
So this was happened before the brawl, and I'll show the brawl in a second.
It's proven while you talking about her education,
fair use.
Verify yours.
Oh.
But since you sold for women, I really already knew about the way you handle Fania. But for you to sit up here and disparage that woman after giving her that fake ass congratulations in the beginning because you thought you was gonna get what you wanted. Here's the thing. I want to educate you. Stephanie Wiedemann is a 20-year employee, and ain't none of her business ventures ever failed. On top of that, she serves as a chief of staff, and she didn't fuck her way to the top. She's efficient in budgets and don't hide her deeds. She is efficient in organization. She served as a temporary interim executive director for the Dolton Park District until she stepped aside to help her daughter become something you'll never be, which is a married woman. And her daughter moved away to Texas, and when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter, but I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours. And so while you've been a half-ass mayor, but if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards. You want to talk about them not coming to work, but we've been hearing about what you've been doing while you've been at work, and I'm going to give away the rest of my time because I think on behalf of the Black Cookout Association that we would better take a vote that we're going to exchange your black ass for Stephanie to be the new member of our. So all those in favor say, all those against it say nay, all those in favor say aye. You gone, bitch.
So, as you see, he was holding elected official accountable, and he, as some people say, he read her correctly. And then he proceeded to call her a B, and this is what happened because the sister's boyfriend was there, and then we see this.
There's been a lot of Supreme
Court. Excuse me. That's some more hot fire there. But
I see you got the clips ready to go, Q. You got your clips Oh, you got the good end. Okay.
Tiffany is in there. Tiffany is in there.
Woman.
Hey, did you see the list of how many presidents that fought in a duel? I look at. Is this a modern day duel?
Are you asking the question? You're making a statement.
I'm just asking a question.
This is that B1 revival. This is what we do. This is what we do. This is unity. This is what we believe is going to push the needle.
Anytime you are going into being a public figure, you got to exercise some self-discipline. Look here, you know how many times I've been called a hot dude? You a hot boy. Nigga, you a snitch. You know? You a popo. Nigga, you 5'0". You a bitch. Take that badge off. And I had to, you know what, summons the patience and not put some on their asses. Okay? Because I know, look here, number one, I got more to lose. Number two, people are entitled to say what they want about you when you become a public figure. All bets are off. They're going into your history. They're going to your personal life. They're going to find anything they can to bring it to your attention. Tiffany was out of order. She was wrong. And she was very emotional with that man. You got to practice some time.
And then he called her B.
Yeah, well, I mean,
which mean let's get to moving some furniture.
He was out of look. I don't sanction you calling somebody out their name, but at the same time, when you're in the public and you're talking about you're a public figure, you got to exercise a little bit more patience. Watch this. Did anybody, when Trump was calling him out at the inauguration speech, he was calling Biden out and Biden and Barack and Harris out? Did anybody get up and throw a jab at him? Huh? So we don't have no decorum. We don't have no patience. That as soon as somebody say something, we ready to go all in. Nah, man. Nah, I'm not with that. Let them say what they got to say, and I'll meet you outside later on. I'm gonna get you.
Have a conversation. Yeah,
we're gonna have a conversation. You know.
I thought it was interesting because, like you said earlier, Brother Juan, is that she characterized herself and identifies herself as the boss mayor. And usually when someone has that level of, I'll say arrogance, you might say confidence, when somebody has that level of arrogance, they're very dismissive towards others. And when you're in the public office and you have constituents, you can't be dismissive towards anyone's concerns.
You got thin skin.
Yeah. Chef C.
Well, let me say this. Keeping it a buck, man. I mean, listen, I don't particularly mind that reaction overall, honestly, because it's got to start somewhere, right? And I really holding some of these folks accountable. It's not gonna be a pretty road up. It's gonna get a lot more ugly before it gets better. However, that kind of outbreak, I would have preferred it be with some other person. I mean, I think a Roland Martin would qualify for that kind of exchange.
The way that he calls people idiots and stuff like that.
And all of that, and yo dumbass and all of this extra stuff that Roland Martin does. He been asking for that type of outcome. And it keeps eluding him. So bless his little heart. But again, I think it was warranted. And listen, I honestly prefer to see more accountability per se with other talking heads who lead with ego as opposed to progressive policy for our folks.
Hey, I gotta push back. So I did some digging. He mentioned a woman named Stephanie, right? Is white leadership striking again? Because if it looks to me, I think the Stephanie lady is a white woman who's going to take the place of this black woman instead of a black man in that community. I have a deep issue, a grown black man shouting out to the white woman in a predominantly black township. I've been to Dolton. I have a deep issue with that personally. And I think that this is...
Why do you have an issue? You got to explain that.
Okay, I'm glad. I'll clarify a little bit why I have an issue with it. It's because one, white supremacy put this woman in that position in the first place, right? So it makes black women and black people look bad as a collective. And then we think that we're going to get a better shake and a fair deal by having a white woman in leadership. And I see this play happens again when it comes to immigrants, minorities, and etc. in a black township. Like I seen this happen in New London. I've seen this happen in Connecticut. I've seen this happen out in various different small towns that are like 20 to 50, 60, little less underneath 100,000 people. And I see this whole corruption. I look at it as a form of political corruption to me. And that's what I'm talking about here. That these people are selected. They're not really chosen by the people who really voted for them the most.
I'm gonna say in regards to your statement. What
And I do have the article too.
What I saw it. What is the brother who spoke about her, and he did mention Stephanie? What was he supposed to do? He's a constituent of that city. It's not his fault that the person in leadership happens to be black and happens to be female. Where is the self accountability when you take a position of leadership? Most towns like that, definitely if you're on the board of education or maybe city hall, you might get $10,000 or $12,000 a year. It's a volunteer position most of the time, if they have a budget for your money. So I don't think that's a form of any injustice. I think he was I probably wouldn't have called her a B, but I would have said everything possible to let her know what she's doing. She's not representing the seat that she's holding.
No. What I'm saying is that, remember I said at the beginning, white leadership is colder, that black people will prefer white leadership. That's what I'm tarping on. That's a prime example because he was screaming that white woman's name, brother.
No, it's not. I think it's apples and oranges what you're doing. I said, because at the end of the day, whether he mentioned Stephanie or not, he's holding her accountable. Stephanie's race really shouldn't have anything to do with it. Whoever's going to take that position should be accountable to their constituents. And if they're not accountable to constituents, whether it's white, black, purple, green, a tether, look, I got to hold you accountable. My taxes is paying for you to best represent me. And if you don't want to do that, definitely, as we say, the burden of being black and in leadership, if you don't want to do that, you shouldn't have ran for the position. If you feel like you got chosen or somebody put you in a position, you can happily decline. And this is the case with the likes of Al Sharpton, who get put in leadership. You don't have to go follow his lead, but those who use him, I'm just using Al to stretch it a little further to bring home my point. If Al Sharpton bites you in the ass because he's representing you, that's your fault because you're allowing him to represent you. You knew he was a snake prior to him biting you.
What I mean by accountability, if they were really accountable, then they'll build up their own voting block. They'll put their own leaders in position of authority. They wouldn't be relying on an outcome of candidates like her and even the white lady. So you can't say count. No, I get what you.
Brother Negro, maybe that's what they thought they were doing when they put her there.
So we didn't learn for women's leadership as a community. That's why I said you had a black man that was there, and he and then he calls upon the white woman. That don't look good to me. That's not masculine to me, bro. And then they fight afterwards. That looks crazy to me.
You on mute, brother Juan.
You on mute, brother Juan.
Let's get some specifics, right? She was accused of spending $48,000 on an ice ring, okay? Charged to the village credit card with no board approval, right? She spent in 2023 when over $775,000 was spent on credit cards, her personal credit cards. Then more than $200,000 of that on Amazon Prime, and more than $117,000 on travel, including those so-called business trips to Las Vegas.
I approve this message.
Okay. So, I mean, if I put you in there to be the mayor of the people, I'm not expecting you to steal from the people. Doesn't make sense to me. I am not giving these sisters no break. And that's the problem. That's one of the problems. We don't know. We keep making excuses and giving folks passes who are literally burning down our community. Because again, like I said, there are some people in this world who would rather see a people destroyed to ashes, and they would be satisfied with being rulers or queens and kings over the ashes. Okay? And that day is over. She had an order. Again, I don't give of all the petty disputes and calling out the names, but if you just stick to the facts, let her explain what happened to the money. Where is $775,000? Why you got $112,000 credit card bill? Come on now. Let's stick with the facts.
That's boss mayor, man. That's boss mayor.
And she was making 6 figures in that position, so you can't say that it doesn't pay out well. And they rolling out the treasury. So like I said, where's the black man not? How about not creating the option for the black? See, that's what I'm pushing back on, Brother Q.
Brother Negro, I think you're mixing 3 different issues. I understand how your position on who should be leading and who should be in leadership. That's a whole separate issue. When you're dealing with she's in position and we want to stick on her being in position and her misappropriation of funds, that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not looking at the issue of that we should have never even made her an option to begin with. That's where I'm looking at where we're dropping a ball. Like, we can't talk about
that is an argument for another day, actually. Because however she got there, she got there. Now we could feel like, oh, she shouldn't have been there. We should be men. We should be stepping up. We should be in leadership position. That's our personal feeling on how we should handle things. But you're in some situations where women have to lead. In that situation, I don't know that town. I don't know why. Them people elected her to lead. And in that leadership position, it was what they call a trust in her. And she broke the trust of the people. Chef C.
Well, I tell you what, here's what we have. And shout out to everybody that's in the building with us right now. Salute to you, Sister Star, and everybody that's in here, man. Listen, honestly, the cookie, well, first and foremost, listen, there's growing positions for melanated or even black or Negro people, has really exceeded the number of 7,000, even almost north of 8,000 people appointed in quote unquote positions of power throughout the United States right now. And with them being in those positions, because for the longest the conversation was not having any quote unquote black representation in high places. Well, you got it now. You've had it for several years. But when you take a look at your communities, though, and you see that these black faces in high places hasn't moved the needle for your hometown, your community in any way, shape, or form, you got to be realistic about the outcome, whether it be a black man or a woman. These positions that are taken up, a lot of these folks are Oreos, as far as I'm concerned. And I can't even put that on the Oreo type of time. A lot of these folks just have narcissistic, egotistic ways by which they govern. Okay? Listen, Steven from Django is the prime example of a lot of these folks. Okay? Steven from Django. If you want to know what a Tiffany is like, you go to Steven from Django. You look at Steven. Because when Django pulled up at the Massa house, Steven was like, boss, who this Negro? Who this nigga here? Samuel L. Jackson played a phenomenal. He played that role phenomenally. But he was like, boss, who this nigga here on the horse? Right? Because he been getting patted on his head for so long. He the chosen Negro, house Negro. So when now you start looking at other folks and you say to yourself, well, I've been in this position long enough. Anytime you come around me, you got to understand that I run shit. Your master put me in charge. Use here and eyes are here. This is the way a lot of these folks look at the situation, y'all. Their power has been granted. Peace to the brother Black Laren. Their power has been granted. That sister, she was put in a position because, again, a lot of folks think that, okay, we have an opportunity here. This shorty talks some fly shit. They put her there. And then she turned out to be exactly like everybody else who've been running the jokes on the city. So now what you gonna do? Is it a lack of male? That was a male that was fighting on her behalf. That was a male who stood up for her because somebody else was talking crazy about his girl. So is it really absence of male leadership? I mean, somebody, you protect black women. What's that saying? Protect black women. Protect the sisters. We hear that. Well, that's what the dude did in this situation.
But should we protect the bad sisters, though? Like, it might sound messed up to say, but like, I'm not trying to hop in the freight train to protect the bad sister. I'm gonna let her. I'm gonna pull a brother Juan Johnson and step right over that carcass. That's what I might do.
Well, but my point ultimately is this: good or bad, there's always some man who's willing to protect. And even in this case, after knowing her history, it possibly even telling her, yeah, listen, you've been hitting licks off of them credit cards, right? Run up a bag. We in this thing together. That's
his bottom. Tiffany, his bottom.
It's the bottom. Listen, hey, girl, run up a bag. I'm your protection. Any of these motherfuckers get out of pocket, I got you. Beloved, I got you, sweetie. Just run up a bag. We getting this together. So when you look at the role of the male and what it appears to have been reduced to, right? Now you're a guard dog for a charlatan, a Jezebel. That's the only thing they see a lot of men for, especially the higher up they get into these positions.
Poor soul. He was just too high strung.
Yeah. Listen, the higher up, the more likely you are going to be deplored to be you're a bellboy. You're a bellboy. Right? And this is part of also where you're seeing the rise in the house husband. These Negroes aren't going out and getting no jobs. They got a Tiffany Hayward out here running the jukes on the whole city, bringing the bag back home. And all you got to do is be ready to throw these when somebody start talking crazy about her. You're reduced to bodyguard time. That's all you got, black man. So, I mean, again, listen, man, brother Negro, if we look at what determines a man for being a man, he got up to defend her honor in a time in which somebody was calling her out her name. Just objectively, y'all. This is not me caping for. I think everybody's, as far as that whole side of what's going on is bullshit. But as far as what we've been reduced to, you're supposed to honor, protect, and provide, quote unquote. Well,
no instruction was there though. No instruction.
He did it all. Listen, he jumped out the helicopter, no parachute, on GP. So this is what I'm saying. Like, again, brother Negro, that was your male leadership in that moment, sir.
So he pulled a Will Smith.
Keep my wife name out your mouth, Negro.
Man, it comes across as cucking to me. It comes across as a cuck to me, man. Like she's telling them to fight on and fight off when it's the man that's supposed to determine these type of situations. So it does look like a Will Smith situation here. She got caught up in some entanglements, allegedly, like different scandals and whatnot. And then now if somebody calls her out on it, it might not be right or whatever. Now he wants to cause a public disturbance in a political space. Like, but they don't have this type of smoke for white folks, though. That's the stuff that I'm talking about here, man. It's just backwards to me. Like the whole. My thing is not having these type of women or just any women in leadership right now, because I think it's going to be a lot more dangerous. And we already see how things are headed, and we've seen the effects of women leadership.
No, we haven't seen all the effects of women leadership. We haven't seen the effects of it yet. Man, look at man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Negro. Keep talking, man.
The black race can't afford you no more. Oh, there used to be a time we'd see somebody like you singing, clowning, yassa bossing, and we wouldn't do anything. Folks like that. You were good. Homie kind of nigga. When they needed somebody in the street, call a name or two, they paraded you. Reminded them of the good old days.
So,
not no more.
Brother Juan, you had something you want to say?
I just think that I think that we've sanctioned a dysfunctional community. I think that we have literally, we don't want to know the truth. We don't want to hear the truth about the dysfunction. And it's like our little secret. Keep it among us. Don't let nobody know. But when you come on social media, it's all out there for the whole world to see. And the folks who never come to America can see the dysfunction on social media. This is black folks. This is how they talk to one another. This is how they operate in politics. Michelle, this is how you don't support your man at the White House? Huh? So they just break tradition? Is anything sacred? Is it any order? Just leave them alone to be wrong? When I tell you, man, when I first started talking to you brothers about stepping over the carcasses, I knew exactly what I was talking about. And it was not limited to friends or family either. It's a lot of carcasses. I would, as they crying for help, bleeding, suffering, I'm walking.
Wow. Brother Juan J. Johnson with the will kick once again. So this week, you guys, we got some hot coming out. And it's funny because literally you guys didn't know what I got planned, but the conversation went somewhere and it's going to lead us right back to the ending portion of what we're going to talk about. But I want to talk about the freeze, man. This week, President Trump set a freeze on all things, all federal funding. Not a stoppage, a freeze. And I hate to say it like this, Negroes went crazy. Negroes crashed out.
No,
Negroes was lying. Negroes started lying so bad that it wasn't even funny for a day, for a couple hours. Let's not even say a day. And a federal judge wound up freezing his hope on federal funding because what they're trying to do is get rid of wasteful federal spending. Something that is very common is basically they're auditing themselves. And people went crazy. People said they wasn't getting their food stamps, their rent wasn't getting paid, the Social Security wasn't going to come out, and none of that was true. No individual entity would be affected. An individual. Now, if you have an organization that relies on federal money, it was a freeze, and you even had people caping talking about schools was sending people home. Well, if school was sending you home and you were a financial aid applicant, your financial aid was paid for to the end of the semester. So if the school was sending you home, your school is mismanaging funds. Brother Juan, you worked in government before. Do you know how that works and what they do when they have like a freeze on money?
You can't get the money. It's a freeze. Look, we're dealing with people that I think that if you've ever been inside a critical situation, like a real bad injury, right? And then you had to go through physical therapy, right? There's some things in physical therapy you didn't want to do because it was painful. If you had to learn how to walk again, learn how to talk again, learn how to move your muscles again from being in a critical situation, it's very difficult to do. But you got to do it because, you know, at the end, if you go through your physical therapy, you're going to be all right. You get back the working limbs or whatever you're going through. This cutting off the funds is like physical therapy, okay? Because we've been in a critical situation for a long time now, for at least 8 years, or not, if not longer. I mean, wasteful spending. I'm talking about like, look, man, I wish I'd had me a 501c3 at the time and get some of that money, okay? But now he's saying I'm shut things off because we don't know where the money is going.
And that was my biggest gripe, Brother Juan, is that because somebody said, well, what about, you know, the Head Start programs and all that? Listen, when you run an organization and you put that grant in, what you have is the funding, and the funding lasts for that fiscal year. It's there. The money's there. It's there. It's in your bank account.
Right.
I understood what he was saying he was doing as the executive officer, the commander in chief. Mm-hmm. But my thing was, why the crash out? Why were so many people crashing out? And then literally some people, they were trying to say Medicaid and Medicare was down, or the system. And I'm like, any social service system crashes. I mean, this happens on a regular.
But this is crashing out. They look here. This is the same talking points they did when they was running for the election. What he's going to do, okay? Because they didn't offer no solutions. Everything was fear. Okay. Now that it's here, and see, like I said, I remember Trump, his first administration, 2016, when what he ran on, the first 100 days, he did it, or he proposed it, and he was unapologetic. So he's doing the same thing this time. Oh, you think I'm playing? I'm shutting things down.
Yeah, and right before we went live, he actually asked Congress to get rid of the income tax.
Yeah. So,
which would be a major boost for everybody in the broadcast. It would be a major boost to Americans if they got rid of income tax.
Doc, we had a broadcast when we mentioned that some of these folks just want to see America destroyed. Mm. And they forget that you're here, You're occupying America's space. And the people who really want to destroy, when they see your black ass, your brown ass, your red ass, because we get multiple colors in our collective. When they see you, they're not going to spare you. Mm. They're going to say, there's one. Man, we have a unique swag about us. We have a unique persona and energy. People know Black Americans. When you take a plane somewhere and get off of it, and you open your mouth, they know that's American right there. Care how you look, open your mouth.
Chef C, I'm gonna ask you. I know you always up in the morning, shaking and moving, and I know when you seen the way people were reacting on social media, I know you were like, "What happened?" Like, it's just a free. It's literally was not. It's a freeze to. And he said some statements in reference to it. I meant to have the clip where basically they were donating. They found out that the former administration was sending $50 million under the guise of condoms to Gaza. And I have to give a shout out to Dr. Short, who's not here, because Dr. Short told me something about the games they played with the Palestinians and the Yahudis over there in reference to sex. So when I first heard the condom thing, I'm like, why would they try to get rid of $50 million? Because you have to, when you're stealing from the top, you have to give that money, and you have to, as we say, you got to code it and use it in different words to siphon that money off a certain way. So he said it was $50 million for this, $50 million for that, and they caught it because of this freeze. So, Chef, see, I asked you, my brother, what were you saying when you seen how everybody was just panicking?
Well, I listen. A lot of fake outrage, first and foremost. Um, and then people don't even know why the hell they pissed off too. This is what I'm finding out about a lot of people after this election season, particularly. Um, Folks are now coming to their senses, knowing that they've made some questionable, cast some questionable votes this last particular term here, and so now it's just been nothing but fear mongering after that and propaganda. It's one outrage after the other. What are we going to be mad about? And they're not even being affected by half of this shit. Not even half, more than half are not being affected by these things, but they're being told. And I gotta salute television programming. You know, it's done a phenomenal job on the indoctrination of folks. But what we are absolutely seeing is this democratic veil crumbling. You know, we're finding that there were so many additional funds going out the back door. You know, we're finding that a lot of people, shout out to Nancy Pelosi, right? Shout out to her, you know, her husband. They've been working that insider trade tip shit for a long time. Her salary is only a 6-figure salary, but she her net worth is about $200 million. How, Nancy? Then her husband is $38 million. And you know, listen, these are career politicians, aka career crooks, as far as I'm concerned. So the outrage again, I'm learning that politicians believe in using anything that they can get their hands on. They'll use a death. They'll use a dog crossing the street. They'll use faulty plumbing happening in a town somewhere just to push a narrative, right, that suits whatever their position is, so that they get to stay in political power a little bit longer. So as far as the outrage is concerned, and on a quote unquote freeze, they deliberately made sure that it wasn't looked at as a freeze and more so interpreted as up. A lot of people are looking at this nonsense that literally is not affecting them as something that's permanent, just because they don't like who got elected. That's what that's about. And at this stage, it's every Democrat looking for a chance to take a swing at the guy, while also being closet backdoor Republicans because they actually agree with some of his position.
Brother Negro.
Okay. Do you have Brother Q, you have X, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a clip. It's a little 5 minutes long, but this is Anthony Nolan from the 39th district. You could actually see this man actually crashing out in real time. It's 5 minutes of him crashing out over DEI and all these other fundings, right? That benefits white women and illegal aliens, right? We got to keep it 1,000. Trump, I think Trump is doubling down on the ice cream truck. He did that. He sent out the ICE raids, and he's about to double check with the freeze of the budget to see who's getting the funds and who's getting the money. He's shaking things down. That's how it looks like to me. He's doubling up on the ice cream truck. Just one on the books and one's on the ground. And so that's what I'm saying here. And just watch this man crash out for white women and illegal aliens. And keep in mind, he used to be in a predominantly, I would say, black people made up 30 to 40% of his community. Now we're down to 10% underneath his leadership. So you see what they're fighting for, you see what they're advocating for, and it's damn sure not our interests. I can tell you that. It's not our interests at all.
Well, brother Negro, let me ask you this though, and everybody that's tapped in with us right now. I do find it very interesting that the only coverage regarding, and I hope this is not too far off the subject matter, Brother Q, but I do find it very interesting that the only coverage of apprehensions and detainments that are happening are only with selected melanated illegals and Latinos. But last I checked, there was gangs of Ukrainians coming here under this past administration. Gangs of Arabs and Palestinians coming here under this administration. Gangs of military age Asian men coming here illegally under this past administration. Why am I not seeing footage of them being abducted, detained, and returned back home? See, I'm calling cap on some of this shit. Yes, some of the ICE, yes, it's, so far I do support it, cleaning up. However, there's still a little China. There's several little Chinas as far as I'm concerned, all over the place. There's several little Havanas. There's several little Turkey, all through the United States. So they're all here legally, is what you're saying to me. Yeah. Something a little sketchy as far as C is concerned.
One of the things, Chef C, that I noticed, right, and I could definitely agree to that point because I live about 15 miles from a spot where they at. And what I noticed is, and definitely when you're looking at the news coverage of what's going on, it's just like anything else. When you're doing something that you know you ain't got no business doing, sometimes you don't need to bring attention to yourself. A lot of these people in these quote unquote communities, back to that phrase, they aren't code enough to shut up and keep their head down and stay out of harm's way. And even to the point where those very same communities will harbor them and keep them and protect them and cover them. Instead, unfortunately, you have these black leaders who are in these cities who are defying the president, who are willing to fall on the sword of the president, thinking that I'm going to protect their constitutional right, and it's bringing more and more attention. For example, what's going on in Chicago? Brandon Johnson is bringing more. He's brought so much attention to Chicago that when they come to Chicago, it's going to be probably elected officials getting arrested too because they're harboring fugitives. Chef C, we live in North Jersey. It's places in North Jersey that's probably harboring illegals, but ain't nobody going to say nothing because sometimes people know how to keep their damn mouth shut. i.e. Passaic. We know the areas. We know that Union City. We know the areas. Jersey City, Hoboken, and we have a issue with, and this has always been my issue with the immigration thing for the last 4 or 5 years. Why does it always have to be the black mayors falling on the sword for the Democratic Party? Why? Why?
Because they're gonna prop them up with the woman
And like Eric Abrams said when he told the Biden administration that funds is depleted, he couldn't do it no more. He said they told him, be a good Democrat. Just be a good Democrat. Boy, just be a good Democrat.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play this what Brother Negro has up, and we'll discuss it.
Just to touch on what's happening in Washington, D.C., and express some deep disappointment and outrage, a little outrage over President Trump and his reckless decision to pause federal funding while he tries to conduct this ideological review aimed at initiatives that help people. This is a dangerous move. Has created chaos, not only in Washington, D.C., but in our communities, leaving millions of people uncertain about their future and setting the stage for what I'm going to just call a constitutional clash over taxpayer money. I want to be clear. Trump's policy will cut funding for critical programs that support our seniors, our children, and the most vulnerable. This is not acceptable. It is actually cruel. It puts millions of people in harm's way, jeopardizing their ability to meet basic needs if this goes through. How he justifies taking food off tables of families, how he justifies turning our backs on mothers trying to feed their children, take care of their children, our seniors who have worked all their lives, and our working people who rely on programs to make ends meet. There's no justification for this. Not only is this policy unjust, but it's unsafe. And by stripping away these resources aimed to help communities keep healthy, housed, and fed, he's doing the opposite and undermining the foundation of our nation. This is a reckless approach and will lead to increased poverty, hunger, and instability. And it does nothing to serve the people who need help the most. Here in Connecticut, we will not stand by idly. We will continue to fight for policies that protect our residents. We will continue to stand up for those, no matter where you work, no matter where you come from, and no matter your economic status. We will fight for justice and equity and basic human rights that people deserve. I do want to thank our federal delegation and legal advocates for standing up to put a block on Trump's policies These are dangerous cuts, working to take 3 steps back. And it doesn't even seem like he's offering 1 step forward. Again, it's reckless, it's risky, and it doesn't serve the people who most need it. But please know that in Connecticut, we will continue to stand up and we will continue to fight against anything that tries to take the needed funding or policies away from those who need it the most. I want to thank you for taking a minute to listen. I don't usually get out of my soapbox, but I think that it's time to step it up a little bit and share when things like this happen. I wish you a good evening. And until we get together again to come share.
Man, get this Negro up out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you see why.
Sit your dumb ass down.
Okay, watch this.
Now you see why I left New London. These type of politicians I got up in here, and this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. This is a prime example of what Q's talking about, and this is leadership.
Where is that same energy for Black America?
Dude, wait. That's funny you bring that up. I had a meeting with this guy about reparations, right? This dude was looking at his phone. He didn't care. He was actually empathetic against our causes. Then I asked about renter's cap. This guy was against that too. And then the thing that teed me off the most is people who need it the most. We know it's Negroes that need it the most. We know it's Black American folks that need it the most. So the nerve of this guy to use this saying for white women and immigrants, I really do have a problem with that. He's putting Negro spirituals on immigrant dust. Like I'm really kind of heated about this. So this is a prime example of what you're talking about, Q. And you see why I asked for you to please play this to see what I'm talking about.
What do you have to lose?
And you saw how he's crashing out too.
The only thing that I'm gonna say in reference to that is, you guys in the chat, my brothers on the panel, we gotta educate ourselves. There's a famous video that all of us who have spoke about reparations, we've used this video, we've seen this video countless times. When Martin Luther King was explaining about the land grants and what he was saying, he said from an act of Congress.
The Homestead Act.
The only way that funds can get to you and I from the federal government is an act of Congress. It has to be allocated. All President Trump did was freeze it. It did not stop it. It probably won't get past going into the next budget, but it's already budgeted for this year. So all the hoopla, all the gaslighting, all the games they're playing, the money will be there for 2025. If I say, oh, I'm not giving you $20 million, you ain't getting it next year, you're going to have to put it in again. Those who write grants, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. When you write a grant for that year, they'll give it to you. Then you got to show them the proof on how you spent the grant to get it again. It's the same thing. We cannot, and I know the brother put about civics. They haven't taught civics in schools in the United States since the late 70s. We're in a bad state that we don't know basic information. Donald Trump is the head of the executive branch. That's it. He's the president and he's the head of the executive branch. He's not Congress. Congress allocates money. So you see all these fake representatives, these bootlicking Negroes, they're running a jukes on you because they're not doing nothing. They're getting fat while everybody in the street is starving. We need to all know who our local congressmen, who our local representatives are on the state and the federal level. So when stuff like this happens and you don't know, just call them. There's no excuse for this level of, and this is why the crash out was not worth it. Because we really made fools of ourselves that we don't know what's going on. Brother Juan, go ahead, Brother Negro.
I'll be real brief, but Q, even if you do make that phone call to him, he is an ex-police officer and he's not on the good side of the law, if you get what I mean. So this dude will get you hemmed up. This man has connections to get you hemmed up, respectfully. So it's even more dangerous if you like. I've done things in that neighborhood to let you know, like this dude will do some shady things to get you out the way.
Black men died in North Africa fighting the Germans. Black men died at Anzio Beach, at Palermo, at Naples, to free Rome, to free Paris, to free Europe. Damn it! We died to build America. And America has rebuilt Germany and Japan. And the nigger is still suffering and dying in the streets of America.
Facto.
This is not intended towards you. This is intended towards us. We need to stop being soft.
I said the other day that the self-preservation switch has been deactivated in Negro. And I believe that. I put my life on that. The self-preservation switch has been deactivated. Keep it 100. They don't know how to protect themselves. You're talking about docile. You're talking about neuter, domesticated. That's who they are.
And then people of our generation got there to curse our ancestors. Talking about I ain't my ancestors. You damn sure you ain't your ancestors.
Well, again, Dr. Clark said that people who will not put respect on their ancestors, their offspring won't respect you, me. I mean, we're dealing with a sick people. Like I wish you had that clip. These Negroes are sick. These Negroes are sick, man. Look, when Kanye went through his bout with against the clothing world,
the small hats, and the guys.
And I kept saying, look, and everybody know that Kanye has a mental illness per se. You can be a genius with mental illness. I personally said I don't fuss with folks who's crazy. So the black community has been crazy for a minute. Again, I'm gonna never let you off the hook about the pandemic. I'm staying on your necks. Okay? Because that was a crazy act of death. And now we're here. Seeing these politicians practice, I mean, it's like they took an oath of benign neglect towards Black Americans. Don't give these niggas nothing, but you make sure you fall on the sword of the immigrants.
And they ain't gonna kick up. They ain't gonna do nothing. Don't even worry about it.
And when I say immigrant,
so Brother Juan, so you heard the immigrant thing too, right? And the white woman thing too, even though he didn't say that. I just wanted to make sure I was hearing the dog whistles correctly.
Well, look, that white man gonna look out for his white woman. Say it again. That white man gonna look out for his white woman. He bears his seed. He spawns his children. So he gonna look out for her. Okay, and that's why the white women vote like they do for Trump. They hold their nose and vote for Trump. Okay, but watch this, and you don't see them throwing their they don't like Trump, so they would throw him under the bus. But as a collective, they're not throwing white men as a collective under the bus. Okay, they're not doing that. So I'm not surprised about this person who's like he said, I don't normally do this. Do what? Come out and support other people. And he did. I mean, I wrote down what he said: dangerous cuts, 3 steps back, reckless, risky. And I'm like, well, where's that energy for Black America? Where's that energy for your constituents? He ain't got that for that. What do you say? Undermining undermining the foundation of the nation, taking the food from the seniors and the children. Really? They playing on the heartstrings with the children and the seniors, because you look out for your elderly and your children. You know, that's the soft spot. What about the children? What about the elderly? What about the Black community? Again, man, look, I see the writing on the wall with these folks, man.
We come to the point of the portion where I would actually tell my brothers on the panel, I'm throwing some shit in the game right here.
Oh Lord.
Brother Negro, Chef C, and Brother Juan, I'm about to throw some shit in the game. So prior to President Trump doing this freeze, he was at the World Economic Forum, and he said something.
Citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. That's another way. It's automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves. It was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it and you'll see. And I hope judges will understand that. And it has to stop because it's really hurting our country very.
That politician cared about more.
Before you respond.
Civil Rights Act of 1964 was upheld. This approach in the heart of Atlanta Motel versus United States. Justice Joseph Bradley made a really interesting comment about it. He said, quote, individual invasion of individual rights is not the subject matter of the 14th Amendment. It has a deeper and broader scope. It nullifies and makes void all state legislation and state action of every kind which impairs the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States or which injures them in life, liberty, or property without due process of law or which denies them equal protection of the laws. He goes on. The radical Republicans who advanced the 13th Amendment, which was abolishing slavery, hoped to ensure broad civil and human rights for the newly freed people. But its scope was disputed before it even went into effect. The framers of the 14th Amendment wanted these principles enshrined in the Constitution to protect the new Civil Rights Act from being declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court and also to prevent a future Congress from altering it by a mere majority vote. Who was the focus? The newly freed people. Not everybody trying to get here by hook, crook, or cranny.
Sometimes people will backdoor into a situation where they're right. Here we've been told for all these years that these Republicans are our enemy. These Republicans are enemies to Black people. We know the history of the Republican Party, who Black people started the Republican Party. Here it is that they're coming down on immigration and they're using the very same laws that freed Black Americans. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
All I got to say is this about that. King made it popular that truth crushed to the earth will eventually rise. You know, sometimes we don't realize when there's a Trojan horse has been activated. We get so much looking at that whole freedom, liberation, reparations piece, which we should, but we don't realize that We have some dual agents out here right now. You know, it amazes me that black people can't see that right now. We're being talked about on a global level again, that your right to be here is illegitimate if you were anchor baby, that it was set aside for the children of chattel slavery. That's deep, because that statement went global. As much as they try to, again, when you don't control the media, you don't control the narrative, right? So for centuries, these niggas ain't shit. You can't trust them. They lazy. You don't owe them nothing.
Brother Juan, do you think this is because a lot of us, whether we realize it or not, we really don't know who we are?
We don't know our history. That's why I put that book out there initially about the American Slave Code and practicing in third, because most of us are not historians. We react, but we ain't reading.
Well, hold it right there, Brother Juan. Right. Brother Q, do me a favor, sir. Can you bring this thing up, sir? Can you bring this thing up, sir? Because because we don't know who we are, right? Brother Juan just said it. We don't know who we are. Can you bring that up, sir, so I can play this? Ladies and gentlemen, now this was 45 at the time.
Yes, it was.
And Q played 47 just before this. Folks are, and Brother Juan alludes and he says, listen, folks are double agenting for the most part. People are working. And some might say this is a reach, but you might have some John Browns among you.
Mm-hmm.
You may not even know it, folk. But let Chef C play this for you, because I'm still waiting for any other administrations to admit this very simple fact. Fair use.
African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right?
Can that permeate? Can that marinate and percolate for a second in the room? Huh?
That Tether looked mad in the background when he said that.
You know, what went to my mind was there's a scene in The Exorcist when the priest was throwing holy water on that demon, and it kept saying, "It burns! It burns! It burns!"
One of the reasons why.
Hold up, before you get in, I say that because the truth hurts a lot of Black Americans if it's not spoken by the person who they want to hear from. He can't. They don't want to hear nothing of truth from him.
They need to hear it from Bill Clinton with the saxophone in his mouth.
They need to hear from Barack Obama. They need to hear from Michelle Obama or anybody but him, because you know what? He's the face of vileness. He's a 34-time felon. He's a misogynist. He grabs people's pussies. You know? We don't want to hear that from him, even if it's the truth. And that speaks to the sickness of our people, man. I didn't like castor oil or cod liver oil when I came up. It went down very, very nasty. But your boy don't get sick.
One of the reasons why I decided to bring this up, and when we were going into this code thing, is because we like to argue with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We like to argue this reparations talk and all this other regurgitating stories and regurgitating. I don't need to tell you guys in the chat, I'm FBA.
Right.
You guys in the chat are FBA. So I don't need to keep saying it all the time. We need to do real groundwork for us to get our reparative justice. We are literally chasing our tails because let's just say, for lack of better words, this man is our enemy. When the enemy has to tell you who you are, you know it's a problem.
That part. That part.
We need to understand that people know who we are. And our claim for reparative justice is right there.
Q, I gotta play it again right there when you say that. People know who the hell we are. The only folks that are stuck in this delusional fucking boogeyman state, a mental state, is us, unfortunately, our collective. But this dude right here knows.
African Americans built this nation. We built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense?
And watch this. It flies in the face of, we are a nation of immigrants.
Who tells us that? Who tells us that, Brother Juan?
The immigrants.
No, that black politician that I showed y'all, 5 minutes of that BS that he was talking.
Let's check his papers.
What party?
Oh no, he's a Negro. He's a Negro. Yes, he is.
But what party tells us we are a nation of immigrants?
Oh,
and then people regurgitate, and then people cape. We've seen it since Trump been in office. We've seen Black Americans running around here caping and holding the water of people that are not them. When you see your enemy in confliction, you shut the fuck up and mind your business. We don't know how to stay out of other people's affairs. And I'm gonna show you guys something, right? I got another link. Hold up. And it's interesting because, see, this stuff here, you guys, this is not new. This is not something that we haven't been taught. And everybody likes to intellectually jerk off.
Oh, Lord.
When our elders give us information.
You gonna point to Dr. Claude Anderson?
You know it.
I had a feeling he's the only one that say intellectually masturbating.
Constitutions. You got the first Constitution of 1789. That's the 1 through 12 amendment. And those amendments gave whites everything they needed. That's why white folk didn't have all these, they didn't have any big demands other than what was in the Constitution. So from 1789 up to 1860, the first Constitution was in effect, Amendment 1 through 12. But what happened after that was that in 1857, we'll go back about 3 years, you had a black man went to court called Dred Scott. You familiar with that?
Yes.
He went to court trying to get some freedom based on the fact that he moved across state lines out of the South. He thought he was going to be free. He went to court. And finally, the Supreme Court ruled against him and said, no, you cannot free. Why? He said, why? And it's basically because in this country, because you're considered to be property. You're property in the Constitution. You're a citizen. You're not non-citizen in the Constitution. You have no rights. You have no rights. So therefore, a black person has no rights that a white person is bound to respect. And that was in 1857. So when the Civil War was over, after the Civil War was over, what they wanted to do, you had some white Republicans, liberal ones, saying we got to go back and give black folks something. We got to give them something. And so they said, we're going to start a second constitution. The 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment and the Civil Rights Laws constitute a second constitution in the United States. 99.5% of all the people in America don't understand that. They don't understand you got two constitutions. The first constitution was the one that 1789 all the way up to the amendments 1 through 12. 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments that was written strictly and solely for black folk. But I never had any black folk yet. The Harris and the Bookers that run for office, they don't understand that. That they should be fighting, saying, we got two constitutions. If I get elected to public office, I'm going to go back to that second constitution and try to get those things that were set aside for black folk. And what was that? The radical Republican says that in 1860 in the United States Congress, that in this nation, black folk can either be one or two things. You're going to be slaves or you're going to be free. To be free in America as black people, you must minimally have 40 acres and a mule. That's what and $100. That's where that saying came from. You must have 40 acres and a mule and $100. And but what happened after that was said, then you had the guardians of racism kill it. The United States Supreme Court is a guardian of racism. The Supreme Court is my primary purpose is to make sure nothing changes racial issues in America. That's why the United States Supreme Court has never ruled effectively to the benefit of black folk. And so as soon as they enacted the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment, and the civil rights laws. And that civil rights law says that black folk must have certain benefits. They set up freedmen banks and everything else. But the United States Constitution came in and killed it. Supreme Court came in and killed it. You ever heard of what's called period of Reconstruction? Reconstruction was? Between 1865, there was a 10-year period between 1865 and 1875. It was called Reconstruction. Now, what I tell black folk is that you should be saying, why did they call it Reconstruction? It was reconstruct. What reconstruct? What do you mean by reconstruct? The first Constitution was a social construct that locked you into the bottom barrel permanently. Reconstruction that took place between 1865 and 1875 says redo the thing, give black folk a chance. And it's supposed to go on forever, but the United States Supreme Court jumped in and killed it in 1875.
That part. Claude Anderson has spoken. Dr. Claude Anderson has spoken.
So when we talk about the code, when we talk about the leader and all this stuff, the template is set. It's been written already. So instead of us acting like, you know how they say, when you have a fighting pit bull, if you're into fighting dogs, what's the first thing you got to do for that pup? You got to cut that tail off because it'll bite its own tail. You got to cut the tail off and stop. We have to stop chasing our tails because we're literally running around in circles. So I say that to say that if those in power right now, say the Republicans in power, and because they're pushing this birthership, this 14th Amendment, they have to say why the 14th Amendment was created.
Mm-hmm.
So we're being forced in a situation where clarity for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment is being exposed. That gives us case law for reparations.
Absolutely. But again, I think you don't see the masses of our people. You don't hear them. The silence is deafening. When I tell you this is a grassroots thing we're doing, this is grassroots. Us delineating reparations and us being able to embrace what the others are saying about that the 14th Amendment was exclusively for us. Most people, like you said, civics was taken out of the classrooms. They ain't being taught this. And I would dare say in your colleges too. We're as the chef with that little thing with Farragon, we're a sick Negro.
Hey, Juan.
Go ahead.
Hey, brother Juan, I might have to push back. It is being taught, but not all, to all. The Boule know what's up. Oh, they know what's up. They get a ground break on what civic education is through their organizations and such. That's how they become elected officials and other things because they're used to those type of standards and custom, and they do get that in college. The thing is, they get the losers in those organizations, and they weed out the winners that would actually improve the condition in the race and our lineage of our people. I see it all the time on the campus. I know Brother Chef can contest when he was on those campuses and he saw the same thing.
So,
They
so that,
select a certain type of people that they want in those organizations, like your Kamami Harris and your Barack Obamas.
all
They
right.
don't
So,
want a Negro like me up on there, or Brother Chef, or Brother Juan, or even Brother Q.
but
So
that's all right.
when we hear that HR 40, who was bought by John Conyers, and it was on Sheila Lee's desk where she passed away. Cori Bush and Cory Booker had it. Cori Bush is no longer a representative. She got voted out. So now we know who don't see. It's one thing to say, I don't agree with reparations. It's another thing to say, I understand why y'all want reparations, but y'all ain't getting it. It's a big difference.
Because they got theirs, Brother Q. Those people got theirs.
Are you asking the question or are you making a statement?
I'm making a statement, and I even
see the house Negro was always like that. But the field Negro, he understood. House Negroes say, Massa, we house is in trouble. Field niggas say, let it go down. They not interested.
So let me give you some context to that. You got the house Negro, the field Negro, and then you got the spook. The spook that sat behind the door. I would probably be considered a spook. Because I've been inside the house.
You know what they would call you, Brother Juan? They would call you contraband.
Okay.
Yeah, because even the patrollers and service people on the grounds at a particular time were looked as contraband, as a possession. Okay, and hey, even myself, I would be considered contraband. As a chef, I was contraband. So you having the inside scoop per se of how these folks move. Well, you use a turncoat Negro, brother Wolf. you done turned your back on the black community because you around them folk. See, a wolf that like to protect and lock all the black folk up. They say, this is gonna be the talk. You like to lock black folks up. Oh, chef, you like to cook for them white folk. Listen, I like to make money and keep a roof over my head. You like to do your civic duty and keep a roof over your head. Okay, and just so happen from time to time, you got to lock a couple Negroes up because they're making it difficult for you.
What have you done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? What have you done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? What have you done?
Yeah. Shout out to Brother Dr. Short. But again, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, Brother Wolf, but yeah, I just, you being a retired police officer, sir, there will always be some kind of people want to take a jab at the wolf.
And I welcome it. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Again, I'm always going back to Genesis 1:26. When the question is asked, what's the purpose of man? Because if I asked 100 men, what's your purpose on this earth, you get 100 different explanations. But if you ask me what my purpose is to rule. White folks understand rulership, manifest destiny. The Asians understand rulership, competition. But Black Americans have a problem with rulership. Why? Because they don't like resistance. Anybody's going to rule anything, you have to expect resistance. 126, dominion over the fish, the cattle, the fowl, and the creepers. And you must expect resistance. Fast forward to the 20th century, 21st century, we want to talk, but we don't want resistance. One of the reasons why I did the firearms piece, because I knew I was going to get some resistance. You don't put yourself out there talking about you're going to teach about guns and folks don't start thinking about the Black Panther Party. You going to do guns? You going to teach them how to shoot? Yeah.
How dare you?
You Black Panther now? No, I'm not the Black Panther. This is brother. I'm a concerned brother.
You come at the king, you best not miss.
That's right. Yeah.
You know? So now look, did I put myself in a leadership position? Indirectly, I did. Not once, but twice, because again, I've said on numerous occasions that police officers became the surrogate fathers in the neighborhood because there was no guys around. And they would call the police for what? For trivial stuff. My child won't go to school. He won't listen. And I would tell them, this is not a police matter. Where's your husband? Where's the boyfriend? Where's the uncle? Where's the cousin? They're not there. Okay? So by default, I became a leader, a voice of somebody who you look to for respect. Did I ask for it? No. But when you put yourself in these situations, like me now being a gun instructor, do I ask to be a leader? No. But I know people are listening to me, and by default, I'm a leader. And look, I found something worth living for. King said he found something worth dying for. He said, if a man, what the King says, a man ain't found his purpose in life, he ain't worth living. Well, I found something, she should die. Well, I'm just the opposite. I found something worth living for, which is crazy ass Black America, because they crazy. Not all of them, but the ones who will eventually get on board and see, you know what? Our elders and our aunties and our great grandparents, they didn't protect the culture. And somebody got to stand up and say, you know what, they was out of order and somebody got to fix it. Or not even fix it, speak to it like we've been doing for so long. The Dr. Shorts, you Chef, Brother Cute, the Negro. So, I mean, my approach is different, but I know I don't run from leadership. I don't run from no violence. I don't run from no guns. If I'm going to die, all right, so what? You got to die from something.
So our brother in the chat, he asked maybe Jasmine Crockett will pick up HR 40 and run with it.
No, she ain't. She's worried about a whole other mess. She's not worried about no HR 40.
This is the issue, is that we don't know how to carry our own water. And we don't force other people to carry their own water. We say, oh, you going across the street? I'm going to carry your bags, and then I might come back and get my bags. But I'm going to carry your bags across the street. We get across the street and we say, oh, shit, my bag's still across the street. And we're like, you know what? They good. And this is all Black leadership. This is all Black elected officials. Every Black elected official since President Trump has won in office has not spoke directly to Black people for Black people's issues. They have all spoke about DEI, immigration, this weird Black and brown coalition that don't really exist but exist in their heads. This is what they do. There is no Black elected official who is going to speak for grassroots advocates or black people.
Well,
Period.
I wouldn't use the absolute because, again, when you don't control the media, you don't control the narrative. And you may have some out there, but because of their stance, they're not going to get the time. Bruh, do you know our numbers should be in the thousands for our broadcast? We spitting truth, but we ain't playing with these folks. Where the other folks on this foolishness, they get hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands tune in. I mean, so I just know that I think there's some out there. We're not in a vacuum, but again, when you don't control the media, you don't control the narrative, and that's why what we're doing is groundbreaking, because this is the new media. We're shedding light on situations and people who don't mean us no good. As far as Jasmine Crockett, and two, I hear her say something specific for black people. Miss me with Jasmine.
God, night, square, prepare for battle.
With that, does anybody have any final thoughts? Because we're going to close the broadcast out.
Well, I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. Salute to everybody that joined us today. I do want y'all to make sure y'all go, if y'all not on my platform right now, in my chat, I have pinned the new platform that is going to be launching very soon, which is the Cook Up with Chef C. We look forward to doing some fly stuff over there, y'all. We're going to be really doing, I gave y'all a couple previews already. We did some beef cheek last beta test, and prior to that, we did another broadcast as well. Salute to Big Meech. And we covered we covered something simple on the other broadcast as well. The final one, we're going to be doing a vegan portion for folks, so just keep it locked for that. But the Cook Up with Chef C will be dropping very soon. It's pinned to my chat that's live right now. Make sure y'all go over there and subscribe for updates and everything. And if you haven't become a member of our Patreon for recipes, that's patreon.com/cooking with Chef C. So make sure y'all slide over there, man. I look forward to seeing y'all.
And Chef C, I need you to email me your on your next logo. I need your logo too, brother Juan and brother Negro. I need both of y'all, all three of y'all logo. So I can work on
I'm here.
I need your logo. You have any final thoughts, brother Negro?
Yes, sir, I do. I got my book that's coming out soon. I'm very excited. Delineationology. I'm trying to push for it for out in the February, but it's in editing phases right now. So the writing stuff is done and over with. So I'm very, very excited about that. Grad school, one class out, and I have my master's.
Congratulations.
And definitely going to do some law school once I get the business settled in. I do want to let everybody know on X around, I think, 10 o'clock or so, we are hosting a space in regards to our response towards reparations and how we would want to go about it, and suggesting some of our plans. If people are interested, they're more than welcome to hop into the space, because we definitely did not like how California and other ones has been rolling, and we have not gotten any restitution. So me, Sister Kim, and some of the people from the organization is definitely going to discuss that into more details about some of our thoughts about that, and definitely looking for people to join up, because they might get a bag too, and actually getting the bag in the guise of our repair what's owed to us, not scamming and ripping each other off. So that's one of the activities that we are really focused on. And we do have a Black History Project for those that are interested in it. Reach out to us. Is the Black Heritage Flag Project for those that are interested. So we got some activities coming down for Black History Month, and we love for people to participate and join. And also in the spring, We're going, Brother Q. I definitely want us to do a black male field trip to a museum where Dr. Short and us and some of the guys, we go down there, take a day off, and go to the museum and bring one of our loved, or bring our sons or our nephews and etc. We just have a black men's field trip with our children, our male children and stuff, and check out this museum and stuff. And I think we should do that. So that was one of the activities that that I am interested in and working out in the spring for us as Pat Talks and others.
Juan J. Johnson.
So before I give you what I've been working on, what I'm about to do, I did post inside the chat one of my favorite scriptures, Proverbs 6:16 through 23. And I judge a lot of our politicians by this proverb. 16 is God hate, and 7 is an abomination. And we get a lot of proud looks from our politicians, you know, and them lying ass tongues they be doing. Okay. Hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked imaginations, and feet that be swift to run into mischief, and a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. This is how I judge my politicians. So they don't get no pass from me. Jasmine don't get no pass. Any of them who are not looking out for Black Americans first, you dead to me. And I wish for you what you are practicing against us. When you practice benign neglect towards a whole people, I want benign neglect towards you and your family. And I mean that.
One of the issues that I hope that we got from this conversation tonight was accountability. And one of the things that we witnessed in November when 45 became 47 was a comeback politically, but a continued lack of unaccountability from the Democratic Party. And this is what happens when you have benign neglect towards your major voting base. Mm-hmm. We've traditionally voted Democrat for over 60 years, willingly, without even asking for tangibles. Now that those of us, and the majority of us, are starting to take a pivot and really look at why we've continued to vote and not ask for nothing, and then begin to ask for something, even in their loss, they have not been able to make an assessment of why they lost, instead blaming the boogeyman. And the boogeyman, and even in the boogeyman and blaming him, the boogeyman is not harming the group that they should have been protecting. The boogeyman is harming the group that they've been protecting over the group that they come from.
So watch this. I'll say this. The psychology of the white folks is interesting, because you got half of white folks or laying down their lives for them immigrants. They go all in. You got the other half of them on, they got to go back home. White folks are at war with white folks without even saying we at war. War for what? The heart of the nation. We're seeing a declaration of war upon other white folks against the friend of my friend. The friend of my enemy is my friend. You lost that battle. Now they're saying we're going to get rid of your enemy or your friend. Okay? And we're saying the same thing with Black America. The ones who can't see that they're in a war. Okay? See, I approach things from a warrior's perspective. Again, as many scriptures as I quote, and I don't consult preachers and ministers in times of war. Okay? And when you seeing this man saying, we gonna get y'all up out of here. Why? Because, you know, y'all, the blacks wasn't doing what y'all doing. We didn't have to give them. We have to give black folks what we're giving y'all. Think about it. All the resources that they've been given over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're still ungrateful. And they gave us nothing. So they're trying to know what? Y'all got to go back. Y'all got to go back. One half saying we got to send them back because they're ungrateful. And now they're saying, look, this birthright thing wasn't meant for y'all. See, white folks are at war. This is so much bigger than politics. So much bigger than politics. Again, for me, you know where I stand. If you don't, if you're new to the Pattalk 57, I'm all about, if you haven't considered a gun, you need to get you one.
And everybody that's on everybody's platform, everybody that's on Brother Juan's platform, everybody that's on Chef C's platform, everybody that's on Let's Talk Too, everybody that's on Negro's platform.
Yeah.
Put pressure on us to do more shows.
Oh, Lord.
Put pressure on us. I know a lot of people in the chat said that y'all like to hear us chop it up. We would do more if we're required to do more. If you want more from us, we'll do more from us.
You being too nice.
No. All of us work, and we try to provide for ourselves and our families. And I say that to say that these things aren't run off of, I just want to spill. These things are run off of resources. Not asking you guys to break yourself, but the Cash App appreciation, the straight for the pay for the streaming services, to pay for the time, pay for the research, because a lot of research, definitely, I know what Brother Negro does. He literally be doing it old school, where he got to go to certain spots to do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff from my computer. But like I said, a lot of times when we want to do shows, we can't do shows because we're working. We want to work for the people, but unfortunately that's not our situation right now. So, sometimes the appreciation could, come in a monetary form with a donation, to our Cash Apps. With that, everybody take care. And hopefully we'll be back to see you guys soon.
Q, don't you hold it. You can't say what you said without me saying this.
Oh,
and I got something to say too.
Look here, because Q, you be saying stuff, it just opened up a whole floodgate of information. Let me say this to y'all. Chef is a chef, and I teach you how to protect yourself. I'm a firearms instructor. It ain't cheap. And when I come on these airways to give you some information, to give you my quality time, I think you need to appreciate it. It's not going to hurt you to send a donation to people who are trying to awaken you, enlighten you, encourage you, and ignite you. Okay? And I'm unapologetic. Y'all need to do those likes. If you can't get the money, it costs you nothing to like or even dislike it. It costs you nothing to share the program, okay? It costs you nothing to even subscribe. But you're not going to sit up here and don't do nothing but just eat and feast and don't even hit the like or dislike. You out of order. Watch this. I've learned in my young time on this earth, the best things in life are not free. You got to put some money behind it. You appreciate it just a little bit more. So I need y'all to hit those likes, those shares, and hit those Cash Apps. And I ain't begging you. Don't need your money, but it's all about appreciation. You go to these churches every week, these conferences, and you get nothing but damn motivational speeches. This ain't that. Okay? So hit that damn Cash App.
Yeah. I want to give about this 14th Amendment before we head out. Look at the Asian hate crime bill. I think he's going to be targeting that as well. See, the 14th Amendment, the Chinese people used that for them to get birthright citizenship here in the United States underneath the Chinese Exclusionary Act. I'm watching that because I would love for him to get rid of that hate crime bill over false pretense, saying that Negro and Black American people were targeting these Asian people and whatnot, the AAPI community. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that Trump might go after that because that was meant for us as Negro and Black American folks, not any other demographic.
Go to lwftraining.com. And if you can't come to lwftraining.com, which is Long with Firearms Training, go to somebody. Again, I want you all to become armed.